All righty. Well, Keita, or how do you say Keita?
It's Keita.
Keita. All right, Keita.
I only live next door, Tony.
I love it. Thanks for being on the show.
My pleasure.
Really appreciate you sharing your time with us. You have an impressive background, so rather than me butcher it, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of your journey through founding successfully.
Oh, that's a great story with twists and turns. So I'll try to make it brief and interesting.
Okay.
I am an accidental entrepreneur. I think that I've always had, I was always a kid that was baking cakes and selling cookies and stuff at school, or I always had like some little side hustle, but I never aspired to be an entrepreneur. It was just always I always had something little thing going on the side. And so my corporate background is in tech public relations.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I kind of lived in New York for 11 years, went up through the ranks, you're the intern all the way, and decided that I had enough of New York,
Mm-hmm.
that it's not a sustainable lifestyle being on the subway. I think it was like I saw a little old lady on the subway with a little cart,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't want to be the little old lady on the subway. And so I'm like, yeah, it's time to move. It's time to do something different. It's time to take this show on the road. And so, yeah, I ended up getting recruited out to Seattle to work on a big product launch for one of the big tech companies here. So we don't get sued, I won't mention it.
Big tech
And so I
company
packed
north
up.
of I-5, south
Right,
of.
just, not saying no names. But yeah, so I land out here and basically gave up my rent stabilized apartment in Brooklyn and move across country and with no friends. And it's incredibly hard to make friends in the Seattle market. The freeze is real, even for an extrovert like myself.
Right.
It took me a lot of time to build community, and you know, moved and found myself like not fitting in. Like my New York sensibilities were not appreciated in the Pacific Northwest. Like I'm going to work like I'm in a full runway, like leather skirt and like print tops, and everyone else is in cargo shorts and shit. Can I cuss on this?
And
That's what
please.
we
Oh
doing
yeah,
anyway.
yeah. Go.
Okay, yeah, right.
Yeah.
And so like I'm just like this odd duck. Like, why are y'all in flip flops? It's work.
Right.
Anyway, it's another conversation for another day. And so like it was this culture shock, and cut to this job that I packed my life up
Mm-hmm.
to, moved across country. The team was scaled up for this big launch and then scaled back down after launch. And I found myself in a new city with no job
Mm.
and no network. Now, in New York, there's a PR agency every other block, and I was highly specialized in mobile, and like emerging technology and apps and that sort of thing. So, like, in New York, it was just like, yeah, I think I want another job, and somebody would give me a job.
Right.
It was, like, or they'd be like, oh, Keita, come and work for us. And I found myself, this is at the end of 2016,
Mm-hmm.
like, there are times in your life where the whole like bottom falls out,
Right. Right.
and like everything you thought you wanted ain't working, or
It kind of changes
and I
your
think
perspective, right?
it kind of
Yeah.
changes your perspective. Like I had put so much into my PR career and
Mm-hmm.
sacrificed so much to build this career, and for something that I felt that I was really good at, that I had the connections for, that I had the wherewithal, because it's always on the top 20 most stressful jobs according to that Forbes list every year is public relations. It's on the top 20 every year. And so like finding myself in this space where I was like, nothing's working out. like, nothing. Do I go back to New York? Do I go to live with my mom?
Right.
Like, like what now? And I'm not young.
Uh-huh.
I think I was like 35. Like I'm not a baby.
Right.
And so we lovingly call it that fucking year.
Right.
And I found that a couple of my close friends had also had that fucking year. Like we all had a year.
Yeah.
And so
Like a personal recession, if you will, right?
it was a personal recession.
Yeah.
It was, it was shenanigans. One was going through a messy divorce and had to like pay her husband to go away. And one,
Yeah.
I had this career stuff going on. The other one was just making choices.
Yeah.
Like it was a weird time. And so I decided amongst my friends that we're not doing this
Uh-huh.
next year. We're not having another one of these. And so I had done this like goal setting exercise with them, and we had I pulled out my paper calendar and I was writing updates in it, and you couldn't call me and tell me about your messy love life. I wanted to know where you were with your goals.
Right.
Like, we could talk as much as you want, but you're gonna start this conversation with, what did you accomplish since last time we spoke? All right. So I started doing this for my friends,
And how
and
many in this group?
it was like three of
Three
us,
of you. Okay.
myself included,
Yeah.
right? So it was just like this thing to do. Now, cut to January 2017. One of my friends invites me to this female founder breakfast.
Mm-hmm.
It's called the F Bomb Breakfast Club, and they meet the first Friday of the month to curse and build community and
Right.
support other female founders. Now,
Uh-huh.
this is the first meeting, and I didn't know anybody. I didn't have a business, but I was like, well, I'm still trying to meet people. I should go to this breakfast at 7 o'clock in the morning on a Friday. I have no excuse not to go to this breakfast, right?
Right.
Of course, I saunter in late.
Yeah.
Uh,
In style, though.
and in style, in leather pants.
Yeah.
Just again, nothing Pacific Northwest
Right.
about this. And there was Megan, who is the founder, was kind of doing this facilitated exercise where she went around and asked everyone, who are you? What do you do? What are your goals for 2017? And bitch or brag, or it was something like that.
Yeah.
And I started panicking because I'm like, do I tell these people I ain't got no job? I don't
Right.
know. I had got a job, and then the start date was delayed, so I didn't really know if I had a job. It was a lot of fuckery going on.
Right.
Let's just put it that way. And they're going around the circle, and I'm getting like the sweat mustache on
Yeah.
how am I going to answer these questions
Uh-huh.
to this room full of women I don't know. So I decided, like, you know what? I don't know these people. Like, I have nothing to lose. I might as well be real transparent
Right.
and proceed to vomit on these poor ladies. Just like, well, I think I got a job. I don't know if I got a job.
Yeah.
Right. And at some point, whatever I was talking about, I circle it around to, this is what I'm doing with my friends. We're doing this goal setting
Mm-hmm.
thing together. This is what we're doing, because we're going to straighten this out. We're not going to 2017 is not going to be like 2016. We're going to straighten this puppy out.
Right.
I'm like a success bully. Let me know if you want me to kick your
Uh-huh.
butt too. Something interesting I said. After breakfast, like 3 or 4 women walked up to me like, that's a good idea. You should do something with it. To which I said, I say funny shit all the time.
Right.
That doesn't mean it's a business.
Yeah.
Like, I'm witty.
But
That doesn't mean.
But you got a catchy phrase there, right?
Yeah, like it was something fun to do. And one of my still longtime mentors, and she walks over to me with her phone in hand,
Mm-hmm.
and she says, whenever I have a good idea, I go and see if the .com is available,
Mm.
and I just buy the URL. Successbully.com is available. If you don't buy it, I'm gonna buy it, and you'll have to buy it from me
At a ridiculous price.
at a ridiculous markup,
Yeah.
right? So that literally was that. I don't know what this is gonna be,
Mm-hmm.
but let me go get the .com. And then I was like, well, while I'm at it, let me get Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Let me get all the and surprising, 2 very common words put together. All of my stuff is on brand.
Yeah.
I have Success Bully everything.
You have a journal?
There's not a Success Bully .1. It's not a Success _bully. And yeah, so like I was like, okay, well the .com's available. And I'm still
Yeah.
waiting on Keita.com
Right.
to come down in price.
Or we just sent some
But-
people to the domain
Or,
owner.
like, shake them down. But yeah, so and then I was plugged into this community of other founders and entrepreneurs, and I thought, well, like, let's give this a go. Let's give it a shot. I don't know, you know, um, big vision, what I thought it would be versus what it is 6 years later, very different.
Mm-hmm.
Business plan was a bit of a construct. You know, it's a good jumping off point. It's a good jumping
Right.
off point. But yeah, so yeah, I started 6 years ago, and I was eventually the job that the start date was delayed that came
Mm-hmm.
back online. So then I was working full time and scaling Success Bully. Um, and yeah, I was able to eclipse my corporate salary in less than 18 months. And then I was like, well, why go to work?
Congratulations.
Like,
Yeah, that was.
well, like why
Yeah.
work?
Yeah.
I remember sitting in one of those meetings. Have you been in one of those meetings where it's like throw somebody under the bus meetings?
No.
You've never been,
No.
Tony. You have missed out on a big part of the corporate
I,
experience.
I, I
You
feel
know, like
like I didn't
so,
miss anything though.
you didn't miss anything, but it's like something didn't go well, and the teams are blaming all the, it's just a blame game. And I sat there and I was like, this is an eccentric hobby. I don't actually have to be in this room.
Right.
And so yeah, so I've been full time kicking butt for the last 5 years.
So when you were starting Success Bully,
Yeah.
were you still looking for other jobs?
hmm
So what was it that said, you know what was it that meeting where you're like, I don't need to be here anymore, so I'm just gonna focus on this business that I have going.
Okay, I can tell you exactly what it was. Somebody paid me $10,000
Mm.
to speak for 60 minutes,
Yeah. And then your
and I
your
was
hourly
like,
rate as a PR person is not paying
you're right, right. I was
that.
like, yeah. I mean, like it takes skill. Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong. Um, but it was like I could just do more of those. Well, why would I
Right.
do this? So it was one of those like realizations, because I think there is a point where when you're starting out, you don't know how to price things,
Mm-hmm.
where things go, and there you fall into the you should do this for exposure. No, don't do nothing for exposure, y'all. Just don't.
Yeah. Just do it because
Don't.
you're passionate
Just
about it.
you might as well have do your own thing and invite people to it rather than do it for exposure. Because I've paid zero bills with exposure.
Right.
You
I-
know.
I've always said
Um,
vanity doesn't pay.
Yeah, vanity doesn't
Yeah.
pay. My favorite one. Oh, you try walk around with this one. Sit with this one. I like. I don't care about comments. I care about cash.
Yeah.
So like when we talk all the social media ness of it all, like
Yeah.
that's nice. But if that goes viral, what did that do to my P&L?
Right.
Absolutely nothing.
Exactly.
Like that's nice that all these people looked at it, but
So what would you say is like? I mean, so after you got the 10,000,
mhm.
you quit. What were the things that kept you going and building your brand and getting more clients?
Okay.
Like when
Well,
did the
I think
next
what
client
was
happen?
okay. So I think that what really, besides the that 10 grand moment,
Mm-hmm.
turning 40 was a big motivator for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so like my last day in corporate was the day before my 40th birthday. So it involved cupcakes and balloons,
Right.
and it was the whole thing. Like I worked back from I'm quitting by 40. So like I had this moment in time,
Yeah.
and then I went on vacation. Like I did a girls trip. It was a whole blowout thing to leave corporate. I will say that what has kept me motivated
Mm-hmm.
and still in it, especially with the twists and turns in the world between, the whole, I don't know if you noticed, the whole world went upside down with COVID.
Oh
I
yeah,
don't know
yeah,
if that
yeah. No, I
impacted you at
noticed
all.
that. Did you notice
The
that?
whole thing. Yeah, I noticed it. Like,
Yeah.
that's why I don't put on pants and go
Right.
places. Like, yeah, Tony, I'll take this call from home.
Right. You're like, what? You want me
See
to
you when you
drive
get
to the
here.
studio?
You want me to go to Tequila? I love you, but that's my whole day.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, I think my why has never
Mm.
changed. My why has always been the same, and I feel that my why is impact, right? Like I know that accountability is a powerful tool, and clarity is a powerful tool, and being able to support people in achieving their goals. There's something like really exciting about that.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you ask me what my natural gift and talent would is, I would say it's the gift of encouragement. And so like taking that encouragement and wrapping it in a structure and strategy, I feel like it's been amazing to see what my clients have
Mm-hmm.
accomplished. It's been amazing to see what I've accomplished in the last few years. It's been interesting, when complete strangers walk up to me on the street and go, call me success bully and not
Yeah.
by my first name, or like it's a
Yeah.
little strange, but like knowing that there's a ripple effect that, yeah, I may coach this individual, but they're going to share that with their network.
Right.
And there's going to be this or whatever tools that they learn, or I teach a corporate workshop and I share a tip on, creating uh, your performance review on and how to build that. You're going to
Mm-hmm.
continue to do that throughout your career.
Right.
And so I think it's having that impact and like whatever that looks like, um, and that changes the what changes,
Mm-hmm.
but the why hasn't. And the how might get a little funky when you
Yeah.
can't go anywhere,
Or you don't. You just
you
don't
know,
know where it's gonna come from, right?
right.
You have this why. You have this what, but then the
Hmm.
how is just. It's not set yet.
Yeah, and um, I think that that's a lesson for most
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneurs that yeah, there are some best practices, right? But you are building this for yourself, right? And so you have to figure out what works for you. Um, I had a call a couple weeks ago, and we were kind of talking about scheduling. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, well, I just don't want to work so much. And I'm like, don't, just don't.
Yeah. And what did that person say?
And they're like, well, what do you mean? And I'm like, well, as the CEO, you don't have to have your hands in everything. So let's start there.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, what's the highest and best use of your time? Let's break that down.
Right.
Now, let's talk about what days you want to work. Now you got to gatekeep that schedule. Um, I'm off today. I'm talking to you because
Right.
you're Tony. I haven't worked a Friday in years.
And that's by design.
So that's by design. Yeah.
Right. So,
Hmm.
was there ever a point? I mean, what point? What's a client success story that you could share that kind of gave you this, gave you when you gave yourself a nice pat on the back, and you're like, wow,
Well, I think
I'm
that
making a
there's
real impact here.
so like I tend to in our accountability practice, I really like working with founders that are creating change,
Mm-hmm.
whether that's changing the workplace or disrupting an industry. And so it's been really fun to watch like some of the folks that have started in our group coaching who like have a concept. So they're more ideators,
Mm-hmm.
and how that they take that idea and it turns into something, and they have gone on to scale big businesses. So having to been there at the start
Right.
where you're like, I just got a text message today. One of my clients started a maternity brand, Rose Maternity. Everyone look for it. Shout out to Brittany
Yeah.
Wheeler.
Rose maternity.
Rose
Okay.
Maternity. She created these undergarments for postpartum.
Mm-hmm.
So like instead of the meshy ones you get at the hospital, these have their compression and they have an ice pack in them, and they're very
Oh
thoughtful.
wow.
And so it was a concept when we started working
Mm-hmm.
together. It was a concept. It's on the marketplace. She's been able to get through the patent, and it's out in the marketplace. She's selling, she's building a legacy around this, and she's very passionate about
Mm-hmm.
it. So from going from this little idea to it being a product out in the world, that's very exciting to me.
Right.
Or seeing one of my clients that started with me. I'm trying to edit some of this stuff because some of it I can't talk
Yeah.
about. But like, when we were talking about goals, it's like, oh, I want to do a half mil. Sheepishly said half mil in revenue, and I was like, that's nice, but same amount of effort to get to a mil. So let's just do a mil.
Right.
Same amount of effort. So like, I'm gonna stretch that. Let's shoot for the mil. I'd rather you miss the mil
Uh-huh.
than barely hit the five. 1.23 that year,
Wow. And
right? And so I think that working with folks, watching them build their confidence
Mm-hmm.
and their decision making matrix. Because sometimes when you are the founder,
Right.
when this is your brainchild and now you're rallying a team around it, you could be on this island that could be very isolated,
Could be lonely at the
right?
top, right?
It can be lonely,
Yeah.
or like you can't share the ins and outsies with the rest of the team,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I think that for some of my clients, I can create that safe space of, right, we could get in the tree and trust and talk about what's going on here,
Mm-hmm.
what's keeping you up. Like, yeah, it may, if you feel like you're drowning right now, drowning at work.
Mm-hmm.
This is to my founders and my CEOs out there. If you feel like you're drowning, act like you're drowning. Conserve your energy. It's the same it's the same protocol if you were drowning
Right.
physically in water. It's the same protocol if you're drowning with your business.
Right.
Just tread, conserve your energy, keep your head above water. That call for help, but conserve your energy.
So what are your
Yeah.
goals for success, Bully? And
Oh my goodness, that's a good question. I think it comes back to that impact,
mm-hmm.
and I would like to one day impact millions of
Yeah.
people and have like a whole like coaching ecosystem. I used to say that I wanted to be the black female version of Tony Robbins, and the reality is I want to be the best Keita Williams I
Mm-hmm.
can be.
Yeah.
And so, like uh, the books, the content, the different access points, because like um, I want to be able to meet people where they're at,
Mm-hmm.
but also understanding that uh, coaching is expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Like let's be honest, it's not accessible to everyone. So making sure that I have uh, products, services, and options to meet people wherever they are in
Uh-huh.
their entrepreneurial journey. So.
And speaking of entrepreneurial journey, I mean, it sounds like you work with a lot of entrepreneurs, right? What is the
Mhm.
common reason they come to you?
I
Is
think
it
that
because of the accountability, or is it because they need more overarching coaching?
I think that it's a combination,
Mm-hmm.
because like I'm not a life coach.
Right.
I have to like, make that real clear.
You have a very specific
I
niche.
have a very specific thing that I
Yeah.
do, and really those founders, B2B consultants who are disrupting the world of work or disrupting industries, very, very niche there. I think that a lot of the pain points for them is clarity, because they're being pulled in so many different directions, like really locking in on what is the strategic plan and sticking to it,
Mm-hmm.
instead of they're visionaries. And the double-edged sword of being brilliant, which I'm sure you know, Tony,
Yeah.
Mr. Done with college at 18.
Yeah.
Uh, the double-edged sword of being brilliant is that you never run out of good ideas, and you never run out of the ability to execute on those good ideas. Which, if you're chasing two white rabbits or multiple white rabbits, you're
uh-huh.
not gonna catch any of them,
Oh.
right? And so we work out a game plan. Like, you could pitch me on the best idea ever, and
Yeah.
I'll be like, "That's nice, Tony. Put it in your world domination notebook.
Right.
We're going back to this plan that we put together. That's what we're sticking to. We're not doing no new
Right.
friends. You're not adding nothing else to
Yeah.
this." And so kind of, I don't want to say bullying the CEO, but just saying, hey, you're doing a disservice to yourself and your team by having all of these things spinning at one time. You're not going to get traction in any one
Mm-hmm.
place, right? And so there's that clarity and sticking to the game plan. And I also think that that safe space, because most of the time nobody's checking the CEO,
Mm.
where I can say,
Yeah. Like hold up the mirror.
like real quick. Well, like I had a client that was like a competitor would basically stole a bunch of their IP.
Mm-hmm.
And this client was going to go big and do this whole thing on social media, put this whole person on blast. And I was like, you know what? You have to remember the magic is you. You've built it,
Mm-hmm.
right? And when you see that sort of things, you can send a cease and desist, and that's all you need to do, right? Because punching down doesn't help your brand,
Right.
right? Punching down,
Yeah. It
because
doesn't
that
help in a
person
fight too.
aspires to, right? It's like you're wasting your strategic energy on something that doesn't make you money. And so being able to say, don't punch down,
Mm-hmm.
like cease and desist, and let that go. No, they can't. And it's flattering that they think they can do it as well as you,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I think, I get to have those very tough conversations
Right.
of, I don't I don't think that's a good idea. I mean, you could, but here's my 2 cents.
And I imagine the message is received well because they're in this safe space
Oh
where they
yeah.
can
Oh
tell
yeah,
you
and
everything
they
and
part of when you sign up to work with a professional butt kicker, the brand tells you
mm-hmm.
it's success bully.
Right.
It's not sweetheart Keita.
Yeah.
Most people do not hire, although I am a sweetheart and I am a
Yeah.
very nice person, I do not get paid to be a sweetheart in this scenario, right? I get paid to tell you the truth and tell you the truth how you need to hear it. Now, some days I may put a little more shimmer on it
Uh-huh.
so that you can hear it, but you're asking me to tell you the truth. And usually it's the truth that your team may not tell you,
Right.
or it may be a hard truth we got to unravel because you have a bunch of investors that are upset with you
Mm-hmm.
or that are happy with you,
Right.
right? Or prioritizing because now you have all these stakeholders. I'm not here to be your buddy.
I imagine
No.
they respect that.
Oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's really interesting because like I'll go, okay, I'll let them know that I'm about to do it. I
Yeah.
give you a fair warning. I'm like, now here comes the success
It's not
bully
a
part of
sucker
this.
punch.
I'm gonna give you like, are you? And I'll even check in. I'm like, are you ready? Like, do you? Here comes the success bully part of this. Are you ready to receive this? Do you need to call me back in 15 minutes?
Yeah.
Like, do we need to bring this up next week? Because it's gonna come in hot.
Right. Was there ever someone that you just kind of ran into a challenge and they
Oh
they
yeah, all the
couldn't
time.
they couldn't take the message of
Oh no, no,
yeah.
I have a couple like really smart
Mm-hmm.
clients that'll fight me, right? They'll like resist, like resist, 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 resist,
Right.
and I love it. I love the tussle of it all because they eventually come around and then they act like it's their idea.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, yeah, so I did this, this, and this. Oh, really? Let's go back to our notes. If you look at our shared tracker, I suggested this 90 days ago. That, and so like I do kind of enjoy that back and forth because I know it's like I know you're used to people telling you you're smart
Right.
and you want to be the smartest person in the room, and I get that and I want that for you. In this case, I'm gonna cash your check whether you listen or not.
Right.
Like what you're not gonna do is talk about how my coaching don't work.
Right.
If you don't do the work, nobody's coaching works.
Right. Now, do you find inspiration from other coaches? Because it seems like the coaching industry has just blown up. Now,
Yeah, I think that I used to.
mm-hmm.
I think that at this point, I feel like it's distracting to look at what other people are doing, right?
Yeah.
So I find inspiration from my clients, from my volunteer work, from just being out in the community and the world. I don't look to other coaches for that at
Mm-hmm.
this point because I feel like um, looking for inspiration, walk that very thin line of inspiration versus comparison.
Yeah.
And there are a few folks at some point it'll be in a book and I talk about how they call me for
Right.
advice and they're fronting on the internet and
Yeah.
I'm like I know where the bodies are buried.
Yeah.
Like what and so I think that at this point I'm running my own race.
Right.
Like I'm very clear about what I want to accomplish, but also that if you really care about coaching,
Mm-hmm.
it's a service. You're providing service, right?
It's like a higher
And
calling.
you are I feel like it's a noble calling
Mm-hmm.
because at the end of the day, my job is to help you see something new about yourself,
Mm-hmm.
help you build your confidence, help you make decisions faster. And that goes beyond just coaching you about your business. That's stuff that will ripple out in other areas of your life. And so I take that service part of it very seriously, that words have power,
Mm-hmm.
and you can destroy somebody with the way you speak to them, or you can edify and encourage and transform their lives with just the way you interact with them. And so I feel like that's less about an Instagram reel,
Mm-hmm.
and that's more about being genuine and authentic and caring about people and what they want to get out of coaching.
Right. Yeah, I think a lot of people need help these days, and they're looking for
Oh yeah.
help, right? But then it's like, where do you get that help?
Oh
And
yeah.
because you can go to help to somebody that's all about the revenue, or you can go to
Mhm.
somebody that
Mhm.
actually cares like yourself, right? Because you're there being real with people, right?
Yeah, and I also think that what I would tell people if they're looking for a coach, kind of approach it like you would finding a new doctor,
Mm-hmm.
finding a new therapist, finding a new even, anyone that's in your intimate affairs, anyone that sees you at your most vulnerable, right?
Mm-hmm.
And ask for referrals, um, and look beyond the shiny parts, right? Because I think that um having been on both sides of the equations, having been the coach, but also being the coachee,
Right.
some of the things that I signed up were a lot of, it was really great marketing and not a lot of substance,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so I would say, just like you would vet a new doctor, just like you would vet a new, um, vet a new attorney,
Mm-hmm.
or anyone that you have to get naked with, whether
Right.
that's physically naked, financially naked, where you have to bear it all.
Uh-huh.
I would approach it that same way, that, due diligence, do your research, ask your network, and really be clear about what you hope to
Mm-hmm.
accomplish. What do you hope to get out of coaching? Because, like, I get folks that come to me for career coaching. That's not what I do.
Right.
That's not what I do. And I refer that out.
Mm-hmm.
Or, they're coming to me for life coaching, or I want to figure out who I am.
Yeah.
I don't do that type of work.
Yeah.
I refer that out.
And you're very honest about it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like this. I'm like, I mean, we can hang out, but you're not going to get what you want out of this
Right.
experience, right? But if you want to grow your business, let's talk.
Right.
If you're trying to figure out who you are right
Yeah.
now,
It's not.
maybe get a journal. I don't know.
Yeah. So what would you say is you know, if you were going to take on a client, what are the baseline requirements
Oh my
that you
goodness.
expect from them, and then.
So when I think about my ideal client,
Mm-hmm.
first of all, they have to be what I like to call tech savvy and innovation driven.
Mm-hmm.
That, like, we're doing all of this virtual. I got worksheets and platforms and
Right.
tools to connect it all. Um, and our experience together is a lot better if we have the same level of tech savvy.
Right.
You know, I also would say that um, I tend to. I'm focusing on those entrepreneurs that are already out the gate,
Mm-hmm.
that are, already have a team, that are looking to scale in that disruption space, whether that's disrupting the workplace or having some sort of disruptive product that's new to the market, that is coachable. I know that that's easier said than
Right.
done, but, like, you'd be surprised how many people are not
Oh
coachable.
yeah. No. I teach mixed martial
That I
arts,
feel,
so.
and I also feel like they have to have a moral compass,
Mm-hmm.
that I am not in the business of um, shafting people, or
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
don't play dirty. I don't like to work with clients that play dirty, right? So, like, that are genuine, honest business people who are actively involved in their communities, that are passionate about what their work. Because, you can have a business that you're just like, yeah, that's what I do,
Right.
right? But you really, I like people that are excited about it
Mm-hmm.
and have a clear vision of what legacy they want to leave.
I think that's very important because there's a lot of a lot of people that walk around and they're on autopilot,
Oh
right?
yeah.
And
Hmm.
having something more to strive for, whether it's family, finances, kind of helps you live, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely.
because that,
I think like this was the first year I gave myself an impact goal rather than a revenue
mm,
goal. And so my goal is how many people I'm going to coach this year. And so that opens up this whole, when it's like the number of people I'm going to coach, it opens it up to how I can accomplish that.
yeah,
Right. And so, being a little more conscientious about, there are a lot of folks that are hurting right now.
hmm,
Right? Like we came off of COVID, economic downturn. There are a lot of entrepreneurs that are in the oh shit space right now.
right,
And so like last quarter I made a whole um I made space, like I'll do 4 coaching sessions with you. Bring the big challenge, let's untangle that together.
hmm,
And just making space to support people, knowing that they're not necessarily in the space to engage with me as a coach on a retainer model,
right,
but like, hey, you here's my hand, take my hand.
hmm,
If I can just, like, sometimes you just need the nudge that it's going to be okay, and you'll circle back or you'll refer
right,
somebody,
yep,
planting that goodwill and being more intentional this quarter on the organizations that I partner
hmm,
with some of my volunteer work. So, yeah, so that kind of opened up how I hit that impact
right,
goal. It's not just, pay this
yeah.
invoice. There's a number of ways that I could get it done.
Now, do you think that that mentality can help others, where it's more about giving than the actual receiving, because the receiving comes, right? So,
I think it
so,
I think it can
yeah,
benefit
mm,
others, but I also will say keep your overhead low. Like
yeah,
the business coach in me says, I do want you to give, but also look at your bottom line.
right,
Like, give in a way that makes sense,
uh huh,
or give in a way that's organized and structured, so that you're not giving from a place that's ultimately damaging
hmm,
your business, if that makes sense.
right,
So give, but give in a way that you're still making your numbers.
right,
That's all. That's not 2 cents. Like, yes, Tony,
yeah,
I'm not giving away no coaching. Don't come over
yeah.
here knocking on the door asking
I'm
for
like,
coaching.
hey,
Like,
you
because I got
said
a problem. No, you
you
don't. No,
got
you
four
don't.
spots.
No, you don't. No, you don't, Tony. You got it. But that's the interesting thing. Like, personally,
hmm,
I have to really be conscientious that I am not a coach 24 hours a day,
hmm,
and sometimes ask permission. And like, like friends and family, they not coming to me for coaching.
yeah,
Or, or being, when I do have friends that are
right,
entrepreneurs that call me to vent, then I'll be like, ooh, if only you had a friend that did
yeah,
that for a living. Like, I'll flag it. I'm still
yeah,
gonna help.
yeah,
But to like, ooh, we girl, I really wish you had a friend that all day she coaches people on how to do this. Oh
right,
my God, you'd be onto something if you worked with that friend.
yeah. So see, you blended into the Northwest perfectly because it's that passive aggressive.
Well, but like, I think that there are times where, especially in the space where I know I have the
Uh-huh.
answer, where it's more damaging to a personal relationship to share the answer when they're not ready to hear it.
Right. Because they're
You
coming to you
know,
as a friend and
they're coming to me as a
yeah.
friend, or like, my older sister said to me the other day, she's like, I'd like to start a side hustle. And I'm like, oh, go on, tell me more. And then I was just like, back up, Keita, stop it. You're like, okay. Well, have you thought about? And I was like, leave it alone. Leave it
Yeah.
alone. Leave it alone. This is her journey. Leave it alone. Mind your business.
Yeah.
Leave it alone.
So speaking of journey, how are the other of the core group that you started this accountability uh,
Hmm.
friend
Everybody's
partnership,
doing great.
uh,
We're all doing great.
they're all doing great. So they've all
And we still,
are you guys still come together
we
and
don't, it's not as structured as
hmm,
it's been in the past, but as far as like that's my core group that I think it's a having your personal board of directors
Right.
or your circle of trust.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like they're in my circle of trust and we're still navigating together. And we're just yelling in the phone.
Right.
Like there was a calling tree was yelling in the phone earlier today.
Yeah. Well, it's pretty
What is
fascinating. Like what you do is like you literally like, if you had to break it down, I'm gonna simplify it maybe a little too much, but you're
go
literally
for it.
just slapping people. It's like wake up and do what you said you were gonna do.
I mean, but I would say it's a friendly slapping.
Yeah.
It's not even like a mean slapping.
And some people
So
are.
not mean, but I'll be like,
Mm-hmm.
I think we're thinking about the wrong things here. I think you're mad about the wrong stuff.
Yeah.
Let's talk about what you're really mad about.
Yeah, and going back to the personal relationships, right? When they're coming to you for advice, they're not ready because they might take what you're gonna say and what you actually do to for people, like, oh, she's being mean, she's being a little bitch, whatever, right? And then you lose that friend.
Oh yeah. Or what my sibling I'm the middle child,
Hmm.
so nobody pays attention to me.
Right.
Right? So my siblings are all like, there she go on the internet again.
Yeah.
Like they're not impressed with me at all. So when I have something insightful to say, they're like, oh, there go Keita again.
Right.
Like they're
It's just different. It's like
yes.
me trying to share financial advice with family.
It's just like
I'm like, right here, right here.
that's what I like do all
Yeah,
day.
all day.
I got all the certs. I got all the
And then they walk.
got all the
And
licenses.
then they walk away pretending like they didn't hear you.
Oh, that's my favorite. Or circle back. Do what you said. Protest. Do what you said. Circle back as if
Yeah,
it was
as
your
a
own
as,
idea.
yeah.
Like I'm pretty sure I suggested that,
Yeah. But you're welcome. But you're welcome.
and like I'm all pro you. I'm pro you on your journey.
Yeah. Oh yeah, to your personal board of directors, right? So you guys
Hmm.
still keep each other accountable,
Hmm.
and you know, I feel like that's something that a lot of people should have is just a core group of people that they can just be naked with, right?
Oh yeah, and
Um,
really
and
share
not
the
not
ins and
not
outsies,
physically,
but share
but
the progress. Well,
right, yeah,
not
yeah.
not- but like I think that having those vulnerable conversations of like I'm stuck.
Hmm.
Here's where I'm stuck, or we were celebrating something the other day. We were actually celebrating. So my birthday was
Yeah.
last week,
Happy
and I
belated
was
birthday.
sitting at the Seahawks
Yeah,
game with one of my friends who we're part of
yeah,
this inner circle, and we were talking about, you remember that time when we was on the bus stop and we had just started our business and we were like boo-hooing on the bus stop, and
right.
like we're in box seats right
Yeah.
now.
You're like looking around like, wow.
And you're like, I feel like we've come pretty far. Like the stuff that I was stressed out about 6 years ago is laughable
Yeah.
now. Laughable.
Well, you bounce back, right? If you
Oh
keep
yeah,
yourself
like if you stay in
accountable,
it,
you bounce back.
yeah, stay in it. That's just sometimes it doesn't look pretty,
Yeah.
but just stay in it.
So if we had to give the audience, 5 things that they could implement today to help
Oh
them
my
on
goodness.
their journey, what would you say is like something that in the finite
Okay,
way, what could
so
they do today to help them on their journey?
I only got three.
So 3.
5 is pushing it. I
5.
got 3.
They got to pay for the other 2.
They gotta pay. Yeah, the other 2 is reach out to
Right.
successfully.com and schedule your successfully.com/call, or follow me on all the social channels at
Right.
successfully. That's the last 2. I think the first one is like be really clear,
Hmm.
have that clarity, sit down and do that thought work so you're really clear about what, you know, whether you are whatever stage you are in your business. I think that we have to have really clear goals, right? Because you can't track something that's not clear.
Hmm.
So I'd say be really clear about what you want. And then the second thing that I would advise is like take the time to break that down. right? I think like when we have bigger teams, yes, we have other people that can do that for us, but as the leader, wherever you are in your business, take time to what are all the steps to achieve
Right.
this? Break that into steps, and break it into like bite-sized steps, right? Because I think we get so upset. Yeah, I'm gonna update my website. You're not a web developer,
Right.
and you think you're gonna do that in an hour? Cut to 2 days later. You know? So um breaking it down into steps, and then I would say like get yourself your own accountability circle.
Hmm.
And so whether you lean into coaching for that accountability, whether you lean into your team, or you lean into a friend network, I think that we're 95% more likely to achieve a goal when we have consistent accountability check-ins.
Uh-huh.
And so if you're really passionate about it and you really want to get it done, you owe it to yourself to be accountable to yourself, but also looping other people into that journey.
Right.
And then reach out successfully.com/call or
So
follow
where,
me on
yeah,
all.
so they can find you on successbully.com.
Mhm.
Um, thank you for sharing those three tips.
Oh, I got
Um,
3. Like, Tony, you want me to come up with 5?
successbully.com.
Successfully.com. There you go.
Where else can they find you?
Well, you can find me bopping around Bellevue
Yeah.
with a very large Sharpay. You can find me there. But more than likely, you can find me on the Instagram and the Facebook and LinkedIn. That's where we're playing a lot these days.
Hmm.
Yeah, and you can find us on the website.
Well, thank you, Keita. Thank you for your time, and really enjoyed this.
Thank you, Tom.
Yeah.
This was fun. I feel like I still have several follow-up questions about your
Right.
backstory. We'll save that for
We'll
another
save that for
like
another time.
podcast. That's a
Yeah,
whole
yeah.
nother podcast.